Wednesday, July the 7th. Front page headline this morning on The Nation, Kun Thanong says, a non-elites rise to the top. Why do you call Kun Prasan Trairatwarakun, the new governor of the central bank, a non-elite?
I would like to highlight a political debate that is going on at the moment with some parties trying to highlight the fact that we are facing a class struggle.
Yes.
We are a country embedded, with deep structural, class systems.
Yeah.
But I think otherwise. I view that Thailand is not a class system. Rather, we are a more status-conscious system. Because the fact that anybody in this country can rise to the top,
including
no matter what kind of background he or she is. For example, Jen Prem Tinsulanand, the statesman, he's just an ordinary guy, from Songkhla, from the south.
Right.
Jen Surayut Junanont, one of the members of the Privy Council. His father was even a communist, but then he could, make it to the premiership and also to the Privy Council. And here, Dr. Prasan, and I think he was born into a Chinese Thai family, very sort of a commoner, but then through his hard work and his academic excellence and his very strong career record, he has been able to make it to the top position at the central bank, and this is quite remarkable. And would like to highlight this to the public that no, we are not a country with class system, because our society is quite flexible in a way.
It's not only the elite can make it to the top, but Kuntu Suthichai, you give the headline.
Yes, but mostly the headline was influenced by Kun Thanong himself. Thanong is a firm believer in what he has just told us.
Yeah.
He always talk about Kun Chua Lik Pai and even Kun Banhan, who became Prime Minister of Thailand, and he believed that this is a strong affirmation that Thai politics is very open to everyone, not just the elite.
Kun Prasan was born in a very ordinary family, traditional Chinese Thai family, and he did very well at school. He was a student leader that ended up with the October 14, 1973 uprising. He went to Harvard with a scholarship, the King Anand Scholarship. And I think he also worked in Washington after he graduated from Harvard for about 2 years at the Rice Institute, or Agriculture, FAO. And then he came back and started working at the Bank of Thailand. You mean there was no connection, no political influence at all?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think for the case of Dr. Prasan, he's really a self-made man. I think basically he's got a very, even though he's come from a very common family, but I think he has a very strong family values, family that values education, because one of his brothers is also a doctor, a physician, and he himself, excelled, in school. I don't think he had ever got any B in his grades. He's a straight A person, and then when he, after winning the scholarship, studying in Harvard, going back, and he worked at the Bank of Thailand, and then moved on to establish, laying the groundwork for the Securities and Exchange Commission during his formative years in the early 1990s.
Yeah.
And then he stayed on and served as its Secretary General. And after that, because of the uncertainty of the political situation, he moved on into the private sector, becoming the president of the Kasikorn Bank.
Does it mean that if you're really good at what you do, then you can make it in Thailand? But at the central bank, it's interesting because some of the predecessors were, Mom Ratchawong, people with high connections. Started with Dr. Poi Ungpakorn. He was a commoner. more or less like Prasan's family background, Chinese, Thai, very traditional, hardworking, honest. But then after that, you had, Mom Ratchawong Pridiyathorn, you had
Mom Ratchawong
Chaturmongkol. So what does that mean at the central bank? Who can make it to the top? Anyone?
Yeah. I think it depends on the timing of the day. During the time of Mom Ratchawong Chaturmongkol, that's after the 1997 crisis, and there was a crisis of leadership and management within the central bank. So the Democrat government at that time would have to borrow somebody from the outside. So bringing in Mom Ratchawong Chaturmongkol, who was the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance, and with Mom Ratchawong Pridiyathorn, he was also an accidental governor, brought in, by Kun Thaksin Shinawatra, to succeed Mom Ratchawong Chaturmongkol. And Dr. Tharisa Wattanakhet, the current governor, was sort of an automatic appointment. She was one of the insiders of the central bank. She just moved on her career, steadily. Path, and because at that time maybe the political side didn't want any change, didn't want to bring in somebody from the outside to upset the balance or the management within the organization. So it was a turn of Kun Tharisa. And now a very interesting case that we have Dr. Prasan, who is well equipped in the capital markets, in the commercial banking sector, and also in the central bank operations, macroeconomic management. So I think you've got all the knowledge and technical skill in order to handle this very challenging task.
He has experience in the securities market, stock market, commercial bank. Now he has to prove that he can also resist political influence or any attempt to use political influence on how the central bank is run, and that will be Dr. Prasan's real test.